we're going to talk about build versus buy, evolving the post-sale solution stack. This is a really big topic, obviously. We've been hinting at it throughout the day. And companies are facing a tough choice because I think inherently there's an instinct of we're gonna go build this AI solution. We have a lot of smart people. We have data scientists, et cetera, et cetera. So go back. Hold on. All right, I've got it. So there's a lot of important questions that are faced about, what are the benefits of working with a packaged solution, best-of-breed solution? Do I trade off core competencies and time to market? Where does initial cost, where does total cost of ownership play into this? And so while we've been scratching at the surface of all of these important questions today, we're gonna go deep on this right now. So I'm really excited with the panel that we have because we have some incredible experience, both on the operations side, in post-sale CX, in customer success and support, digital channels, and then we also have the representation from the Office of the CIO. And what we found is that often these investments have to take place together. CIO working in concert with a chief customer officer, SVP, success, and so on, because there's a functional need and then there's a business need, and that collaboration is so critical. So I'm gonna call up the panel now, and first I'm gonna call up Alvina Antar. Please join us. Give her a round of applause. Okay. So Alvina is a CIO and an advisor, and she is currently on the board of Couchbase and also an advisor for Signal and Olakai, focused on the security and AI space. And Alvina was most recently the CIO at Okta. And previously she was the CIO at Zuora. That's where we worked together. Seems like yesterday, but it was quite a ways ago. And in IT leadership roles at Dell Technologies. So welcome, Alvina.
Thank you for having me.
And next I'd like to call up Ashok Gunasekaran, and give him a round of applause. Ashok.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Ashok is currently the SVP of Customer Success at Acceldata, and Ashok was previously at NetApp, and prior to that at Informatica for a long time, many years in post-sales, CX, and digital leadership roles. And I will mention that Ashok was instrumental at Informatica to build their own in-house customer sentiment solution that they used for many years. And then as part of their process of evolution, they decided to partner with SupportLogic. And so we'll talk through some of the decision criteria and how you went through that change management, which was a big factor. So thanks for joining us, Ashok. And then finally, Vimal Vasudevan. Vimal, welcome. So Vimal, thanks for joining us. Vimal is head of digital Parcel USA at Koerber Supply Chain. And previously, you were many years at Siemens Logistics in product and technology roles. So it's great to have all of you with us. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna show just a couple slides here. I'll go back to the panel slide for Gartner, the CIO priorities, just to set the stage. You see on the right, this is basically a split of commodity items to the left, differentiated items on the right, which I think everything that we're talking about in the categories of AI and post-sale CX are today. And you see the focus on innovation and product roadmap, as well as TCO as important factors. So that's something really to keep in mind. And then you can see the state of technology employment or deployment in terms of AI and the generative focus, and also low code, no code, but we're not really going to get into that today. So I think it's a good backdrop for us as we talk about build versus buy. I'd like to open it up on the panel. I'll just ask you all, what do you think are the most important factors to consider for companies today when assessing whether you should build versus buy AI technologies? Why don't we start with you, Alvina?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Joe. I'm excited to be here. So just build versus buy. I mean, back in, 10 years ago, we talked about this in our time at Zuora, and it was at that time, thinking about cloud technologies and the emergence of the cloud in the 2000s. And here we are, it's 2024, and we're having a conversation on build versus buy for AI. And it's the same question, right? It's in the same answer. The reality is you purchase and you invest in technologies that are best in class, that are truly differentiated and that are critical to your business. And you invest in building, those that differentiate your business, that are part of your IP. And that, is as simple as it is, right? And that's what we've done back for the last 20 years plus with cloud technologies. And that's what we will do with AI is what I'm seeing, and so, the need to be able to ensure that we partner with technologies like SupportLogic that are really differentiated in having depth of expertise in an area that, for customer experience, customer sat, the number one priority for most employees or most companies are loving their customers. Putting customer focus or customer first is the number one priority. And so how would you not invest in providing and investing in solutions that are truly best in class capabilities that support your focus on customers?
I love that priority. I think everyone here can relate to that. So thank you. Ashok, what about you?
Absolutely. That's one important aspect that, as Alvina pointed out. To me, when I look at it, I have done it both. Joe knows it better. So from what perspective that we look at, especially from a tech company, be it my time with Informatica, where I was responsible for all the customer facing as well as the internal applications that we were building, it is very important from two aspects. One is the complexity and the depth of the use case that you have. So it all starts with the use case, what we are trying to change in the business model. So back then, it was like 4 or 5 years back, we looked at it from the maturity of AI was not to the level where we are today. So we had to look at the depth of the use case, that we want a complex health score, for example, derived back into time. There's not a lot of options in the market in terms of maturity of taking the data and making it meaningful for your business. And really the differentiation was like how deep you want to go in your business. The data that's specific to your domain, your industry, or anything that's very specific to your business process, then it makes sense for us to build, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if you look at it from kind of, as you pointed out, the industry leaders are having more data. They have more trained data models that can bring a better version of customer sentiment or whatnot, that the machine learning models that we have to develop from scratch, then it made sense not to build, rather we would buy from somebody, right? So it truly depends. That's one of the factor. And the second factor is truly if the time, and as you pointed out, Joe, it's the cost of ownership, right? And I would give an analogy to close to kind of, you want to buy a home, then you either buy it, you build a custom home, or you buy it from a builder who is building tract homes, right? Both has its advantages and disadvantages. Ideally, I may want a custom home, but you have to spend a lot of capital on it, one, and the time that you get to construct is going to be very long. And then you are going to have a very specialized way where you are going to engage with an architect or a designer and a builder and a contractor. And the responsibility falls on you to make sure that project goes per plan. You have to coordinate between multiple people and all those stuff. Yes, the end result may come, but it'll be very long time to value. Versus you buy it from a tract builder, so you get it, a templatized version, that they have done the construction forever, so they just do it faster. You will get a basic home. You still have a way to swap your floors, your countertops and whatnot, what is important to you. So you still get it in 3 to 4 months rather than a year or 2 years, right? So it depends for you what is more important at any point of time. And at this time, everybody wants to show value faster. Nobody's want to wait for years to show an initial use case and the promise of AI. So I think there is a natural inclination with the current maturity of AI that people are trying to kind of buy first.
I think that's right in terms of the current situation, and we'll come back to that. Like the analogy, by the way. Vimal, what's your perspective? How are you thinking about this trade-off and the key factors?
Thanks, Joe. I take a very simplistic view of these things. I agree with some of the points. For me, the fundamental unit is job that needs to be done. Okay, job that needs to be done is a fundamental unit, and then like digital twin, it comes with the twins, which is one is a problem statement, and the second one is value proposition. Combination of these two will give us a clear picture whether it's a buy case or a build case. So my view is just revolves around these 3 parameters to make the decision.
Fantastic. I'm going to go back to Ashok. So as you built a solution for sentiment analysis inside Informatica, you have a great perspective on this. What level of in-house AI and machine learning expertise are required to really build it and build it well?
Yeah, I think one main reason, as you talked about Informatica, many of you know Informatica, and I think there are folks from Informatica here as well, if you want to learn more, but it's a data integration company. So basically, you sit on top of wealth of data. So we help customers to realize the value of the data faster. So eat your own dog food. The buy was not an option. First, we have to try what's the capability that you can build with the data that we have around about our customers. So it was a very good use case for us to start thinking build first, right? So from that perspective, we still having just the tools alone is not going to be enough. You need to have the cast around it. So you need to have a data scientist for sure, which is very hard to find a good data scientist these days. When I say good, it's not just about building ML models, training the models and deploying models. That's a typical ML operating model. But the data scientist, a good data scientist, will need to have a good subject matter knowledge about the business process that you're trying to automate there. So it's not purely statistical and analytical, but you also need to know what you're solving for so they can come up with the better models and better sentiment scores, what makes the most sense, what does it mean. So good data scientist is foundational, but at the same time, a data scientist cannot do everything. To build that data together, we need a data engineer, which is very hard to find skill set again. That you need to have a data engineer looking at all the pipelines in the enterprise. You look for the sources of data from working with IT and getting the IT data sources. You work with the product DevOps team and get the product usage data, which is again very regulated. We cannot get the customer data in what you're getting and what you cannot get, right? And then deriving the PIA information, you need to work with the InfoSec approval. You need to get the supporting cast for you to get everything for even build or buy. You still need to have the enterprise architects approve it. So that is a key technical elements of personas that you need to have. But I would say the important thing, build or buy, is need to have a business architect or a business process orchestration person with a flurry of applications that you have and the data you have. What data need to land in what persona in what business process? Which business process are we trying to disrupt? So the business architect or business analyst need to, or business operations person, need to really make sure you connect the dots in terms of what we are trying to solve for and where we need to integrate that. Is it a Salesforce or any of those things? Which business process is invoked in what system? That was one learning for us, that when we built initially, we didn't have an integration that touched the people in where they are operating on a daily basis. What SupportLogic gave us was that opening, right? So you do all good models and everything, but you just throw it over the wall and think that they're going to use it. It's not going to happen. So we took SupportLogic because even though we built some great models, reaching the end users in process on when they are attending a customer call, what they need to be aware of and what signals are important. Those were hard thing to build everything. So it was easy for us to make a decision on why the same model worked better when we use SupportLogic.
Appreciate that. A quick follow-up to that with generative AI, which has really just been here a short time. Do you see, in general, do you see this as changing the calculus for build versus buy any different than when it was just, the other AI technologies?
Sure. You want me to go?
Yeah,
okay.
back to you. Just
Back
to follow
to
up to your
me.
build
Yeah, the
versus
Gen
buy.
AI world, so I look at the AI use cases broadly fall under I think you also called out 3 different areas. The AI is a predictive AI and other areas that traditionally has been there for a while, and Gen AI kind of touched upon every aspect of AI, especially it is really this kind of big shift in generating content, right? So that not only just made the Gen AI side of accelerated value faster, but also made predictive AI and bringing the personalized AI experience to your end customers also an accelerated path. So looking at from the evolution and growth, I believe Gen AI use cases that's kind of tapping the platform. You already have the data, forgetting about the data complexity and what you need to bring, what I talked about, bringing a data engineer and everything. If you are contained with the data that you have in your CRM system is good enough for you to derive some value and generate content faster, be it case summaries or account summaries or email compilation, those are some low-hanging fruit that we can get faster to value than what we would have otherwise built for months and years in the past.
Perfect. Thank you, Ashok. I'm going to turn to Vimal. So Ashok mentioned integration challenges, right? You have a very interesting business, and I'd like you to share a little bit about it, right? It's a blend of hardware and software. But what I want to ask you is, what are the common integration challenges that you have to deal with and the complexities in your business?
So it's a very good question, correct? So we have a broad spectrum of components, all the way from south to the north. At the south, it's real machines, which is really working on the field. And one of the important challenges, some of them are air-gap systems. There's no way that you can take the data out, or even if it is giving data, it has high noise. So when we, in the spirit of the title of this panel discussion, build versus buy, there are various data products we need to create across from south all the way to the north. Certain areas, we made an informed decision that we need to build, because when a machine is producing data, of course, if you go to an outside vendor, hey, we can grab anything and we can filter anything. But our responsibility is to make sure the data is very low entropy, because it has very less noise, and it sends the data what it matters most to the next layer. So some of those kind of data products, we invest our R&D, and we make sure that we innovate in-house. And then as the chain goes up and up towards north, we tend to rely on our partners to take this kind of data, or in sometimes data plus AI product, to deliver the value like work order generation and chatbots and other things. We rely on partners. So the integration challenge, what we do is we take the heavy lifting, shifting at the very bottom level, and then at the same time, we are not so expert at the north level. We rely on the partners to handle those things.
Gotcha. Core expertise. I'm going to turn to Alvina. So you bring the IT and the CIO perspective to this, right? How do you think about the trade-offs in the framework of build versus buy, and specifically the balancing for short-term and long-term for the company?
Yeah, what I would say is the time to market is critical. I mean, the point that you made on the need to be able to actually have the business realize value and iterate and deliver value in an iterative fashion is critical, and especially as it relates to areas that are essential to your business, like going back to making decisions around where's your core differentiation, which is exactly what we've been talking about, investing in R&D and in our IP, but then ensuring that we are making the right decisions on who are our partners, not vendors, but who are our partners. And today, I mean, there's a ton of effort, across many organizations in rationalizing software. Like, there's a ton of cloud out there. We went, cloud happy, and we bought a bunch of technologies, many of which are not integrated, to your point. And we're using base capabilities of those technologies, and we're really not leveraging the full feature capability of these technologies. And so many people in my seat are looking at our ecosystem and our architecture and saying, who are our partners? Who are critical, mission critical to our business? Have we fully leveraged the full feature functionality as SaaS partners continue to extend and grow in their capabilities? Have we kept up with the expansion of capabilities and are fully leveraging their capabilities? And then who, is actually more complex than serving our business, and that's where you're seeing a lot of rationalization and churning, where companies are at risk of losing their customers because they're only talking to them at point of renewal, and they really haven't kept up with making sure that their customers are leveraging full feature functionality of their technologies. And so I would say, the whole decision around build versus buy is not just buy, it's do you continue to buy? Do you renew? And how do you ensure that you are putting your customer at the center of everything that you do, and ensuring that you understand the evolution of your customer and what their needs are, and how your capabilities align to their needs. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the real decision around buying is do you want to invest in a partner who's going to provide real, immediate, time to market value, maybe not immediate, but to a value where you can, that is truly differentiated for your business, and how critical is that to your business? And what I would say is with, CSAT and customer support and customer sentiment being the number one priority for the majority of our, for most companies, ensuring that the difficulty of actually landing a customer is a huge leap, but ensuring that you're able to not only land but expand requires depth of expertise in CSAT and support. And the evolution of the experience has dramatically evolved. Employees expect a different experience. So do our customers. They don't want to wait for a support agent to give them an answer, no matter how quickly they'll respond to them. They want to be able to solve their problems themselves. And so we need to stay ahead of that. And our customers' expectations, we need to stay ahead and ensure that we are able to provide our customers what they expect at the time that they expect it.
I like how you emphasize the domain expertise, it being so critical. I'd like to go back to an earlier point you made around time to market, and I'd love to hear Ashok and Vimal's perspective on that too. How does time to market push, change the calculus, and are, at the risk of asking a leading question, do companies underestimate the importance of time to market?
I can go first. Time to market, as I talked about, it's very important, according to what I gave us an analogy as well. But keeping that aside, I have now worked in the last 3 years with Informatica, then NetApp, and then in the startup right now. So my perspective on this has changed a lot in terms of what is the time to value. Each company perceives what they want in days versus weeks versus months, right? So it is very apparent, but nevertheless, the business view of time to market is very different than even a CIO perspective, right? The way that, in my experience that I have seen, is business wants a point solution, a point problem to be resolved today. If I'm a support leader, I want, why is this escalations coming so many? I want to solve that problem. So it's very easy for me to pick a solution that solves that problem today with the level of breadth and depth of data that we have. But where we also look at it very holistically is, if I'm a CIO head, It's also looking at not just solving that one use case, going back to your point, that time to value is kind of, yes, incrementally it gave X value to one business and one line of business, but how can I add the same platform if they are getting so much data, like the signals that you talked about from your product roadmap, how can it broaden to more use cases that can solve problems for the same usage data that you're getting, how many other use cases that we can solve. So it's more about like, what is the time to value on the first value versus we also see collectively for an enterprise, what are the capabilities that this platform can provide over time in the next 6 months, 12 months. So it's very apparent, different line of business look at it differently than how a centralized CIO looks at some of these investments.
Perfect. Vimal, how about yourself?
This is a great question, actually, because I have seen traditionally in industrial, sometimes the post-sale support is a kind of an afterthought process. It's not a first principle or a native topic. So sometimes that puts in a position that how are you going to leverage what's outside instead of scrambling at the last minute. So the time to value, it's a critical decision, and if they have to make it in a shorter time, in some cases, industrial product. So the technology like which is readily commercially available, which can empower the frontline workers at a faster pace, will be most preferred one in that case.
Gotcha. I'm going to go back to Alvina. So what's your advice for managing the AI investment portfolio to ensure governance and security across?
Yeah, I mean, that's a hot topic. In that, talk about shadow IT. There's shadow IT is now exponential with the amount of shadow AI across enterprises, especially within the enterprise itself, right? Across every part of the business, wanting, to leverage these AI capabilities, whether they're enterprise capabilities, that also have AI capabilities, or capabilities that are being built in-house. And so being in a position where you actually have, there's many organizations that are building AI councils that have representation across legal and security and IT and business functions, to ensure that not only is there awareness, but that you actually have monitoring capabilities where you understand what's actually the same way that you understand the cloud technologies that are deployed within your ecosystem, understanding AI technologies and how it's using your data, because data is gold. Your data is gold. Your data is your IP. Your data is your customer data and employee data, PII data. Just making sure that, and that's one thing that we haven't talked about as it relates to building.
It's a perfect
versus
segue.
buying.
Let's talk about the data.
Instead of investing in deploying a solution that you have a best-in-class capability for, focus on cleaning up your data, and ensuring that your data is trusted and that you have transparent data, and that you actually are in a position where you can govern your data. And I think that there's a ton of focus now on data governance and data strategy and data catalogs, and because without trusted data, whether it's your product data, and having that product data combined with customer data to provide deep telemetry and utilization of your customers, all types of data are critical, and ensuring that that you're in a position where you focus your energy on that, I think, is key.
That's a great thought, and I know Ashok is itching to get in on this.
Yeah.
He's been at several data companies, right?
Correct. So
share your perspective on this.
We are seeing that as a trend. It's a good and bad in the sense like AI has opened up so much opportunities. To your previous question, there is a general tendency in enterprise IT and the AI governance teams forming what is right to open up versus what's not. There's not enough tools and others to really, there are tools, but it's kind of spits yes or no. But it is up to business to kind of stage it up to some of these governance and councils to say how good of the data that they have and the scope of the data that we are going to use for a specific model and stuff. So it's up to the business and the data engineering and others to come up with that process to see what we want to, because once you say AI and you're going to get a customer experience better, everybody connects the dot and say like, hey, where is the customer data coming from? Is it governed versus not governed? And there is a general reluctance to approve anything in some of these places. So it is more precise and governed, and as Alvina pointed out, if you are very clear on what you're asking and the span of your data that's going to be used for a specific use case, you tend to get a better acceptance and approval rates rather than, especially with customer data. On the other hand, generative AI is always, that's on the structured customer data, but generative AI is very powerful with unstructured content. Sometimes people confuse between content and data as well. Content is data as well, but content may be just your knowledge articles. The content can be a PowerPoint and PDFs. As long as you have right checks and balances that you're not inadvertently exposing your customer data in those content, that's where some of the enterprise search engines and others are kind of continuing to be under the scrutiny, that we are not exposing some of the customer data outside of it. So generative AI by itself has a lot of potential that without taking customer data and putting in front of the customer something, if we are taking it as a staged approach to just do an internal version of account summaries or case summaries that you're doing, then it is an easy way for you to kind of get some value to start with before boiling the ocean with a broader ask that I want to take a digital customer experience orchestration where I want to automatically generate content and push to the customer, where you are likely to have more stops in the domain.
Thanks, Ashok. Vimal, you shared before some of your unique challenges. You talked about air-gapped solutions, containing data in certain points. Would you say you have a higher bar in terms of where data quality needs to be in terms of getting insights, or how are you thinking about the overall approach to managing your data?
See, this is, we touched multiple aspects of the data, so I have some interesting facts to share. Right from the source, we focus on the data quality on the machine. We produce the data which has more signals and less noise. So that's period. That's a default product requirements for our ongoing rollouts, that we produce data with low entropy. That's the first level. The second level is data enrichment at various levels with partners or without partners, where there is a gray line of data ownership issue once it gets enriched at each level. So we tend to focus on the data ownership at those areas because we do see that they add value to the data on the enrichment side, but then like where that line, in terms of policy, last week I was in Austin to part of the House AI Select Committee in Texas. They are in the process of drafting the policies. Some of the things were centered around ownership of the data and also who is responsible for this generative AI generated content. Yes, in terms of simplicity, call, rebooting your modem, it's a simple thing. But in terms of medical field and an insurance decisions, these are all very complicated decisions. So how human in the AI loop has to be established and who is responsible for this decision made by generative AI. These are the topics which we are currently in various associations touching, and in personally, the product line, what we are rolling out, these are the three topics where we really focus on the data point.
Thanks, Vimal.
Especially where, I don't want to pitch, but Informatica's data quality or where we are running the Acceldata business is especially going against a lot of these use cases where you don't know where is your data, what is your quality of your data, and then put policies around it has been kind of the fuel in some of these areas of data observability and other areas where a lot of customers are realizing that their AI can be only as good as their data. And it's like not like a garbage in, garbage out. It's more a garbage in and disaster out is what our CEO kind of position. So it is what is your current health of your quality? Or quality of your data is something that everybody is asking question to be answered.
Everyone has to think about the data, and it's an important part of the process. I want to shift a little bit to cost. We've touched on it, right? TCO being high importance among CIOs, but there's also the trade-off with short-term cost and internal, right, people count, especially if you're starting to build versus application costs. Ashok, I'll start with you, right? How do you think about that? And maybe one thing to add is, what are some of the hidden costs that companies may overlook?
Yeah, I think I briefly touched upon the hidden costs is people don't realize the people cost, right? So in some companies that were initially we had was the people cost were under support cost, for example. We had a very high support margin, so it's always never looked bad when you hire 1 or 2 data scientists that you can build yourself based in Bangalore or something. So it is something that part of our technology initiatives, be it people or tools that we buy, we always have a way of kind of carving part of the support budget into it. So said that, that's not a luxury that many companies may have, right? Because support delivery is different than an automation and what you're spending on tools and stuff. So, but we manage, not every company, when you go into a public company, you will have a lot more scrutiny on what is COGS versus ops and all those things. So one is the people cost, be it you start small, but now it's not easy for you to get a good data scientist, a good data engineer, a good business process person and everything. And then there's a shared cost from IT and others, right, where they have to still continue to, the enterprise data office, they need to get the foundational data quality for the different data domains, be it your customer data or product data. They need to invest to get the data pipelines created. If we are not, as a business, going to own it, then it adds, always, no pun intended, but IT costs are higher than business cost. If you have to hire those people, right? So it is a hidden cost. And then you are talking about governance and people around it, and business process side, you need to have a business process ops person who is going to be sitting on these meetings and governance. So there's a lot of layers of people that you need to have, but predominantly from a technical front, you're still going to end up having a few data scientists, a few data engineers, integration specialists that are going to work with multiple applications to integrate, and any sort of automation that you need to have your own developer to bring some of these things together.
Makes sense. Vimal, anything to add to that?
One of the topic Ashok already touched is the total cost of ownership. That is very important aspect to calculate all this hidden cost is your total cost of ownership. Second is the technology debt, because you can have a great partner with a great technology and it's all good, but if you don't have a proper skill set in your team, you'll end up again spending more money. So your technical debt is a very important thing, because most often, a lot of cases, the buyer and the user are not same. So there's a huge gap between the decision makers versus the actual user of the product. So that may not translate into a cost, but it can become a cost.
Makes sense. Did you want to add anything? I had a different question.
Yeah, I just wanted to just to add on, the cost is not, I think you were mentioning, so the cost of maybe implementing the initial use case or the initial proof of concept may be minimal, right? But the reason why we talk about total cost of ownership is really, once you decide to build, you need to invest in enhancements and sustainment and extending, and you need to realize and think long term. On that decision, as opposed to just thinking short term, in terms of the business need now. So that's one factor. And then the other is just the cost of, we talked about the evolution of the support experience. And today, in the past, we try to drive down cost of support through, just offshoring and having centers of excellence in lower cost locations, or contracting it out. Having contracting teams that have capabilities for support that are much lower cost than investing in full-time employees for support. Well, now, because the support experience has dramatically evolved, the expectation is no, we don't want to throw people at the problem. Even if the people are lower cost, we want to have technology that can solve the problem with AI that can provide the customers the experience that they want at their fingertips. And so, that should be part of the assessment on the business case of investing, is the impact that has on the support costs long term. So I just wanted to call
That's
that
a
out.
great perspective. Thank you. I want to stay with you, and I want to ask, we have a great group here because we have a mix of sort of the functional and line of business expertise with CIO and IT leadership. So Alvina, from your perspective, I think it's safe to say we've heard from a lot of people who are in the functional leadership role say they struggle to work with their CIO, their CFO, right? The steering committees that are going to get these projects improved.
Bypassing the CIO.
So there's some truth to this. Right? So Alvina, what's your advice for people out here who are like Ashok and Vimal for how to work that process better with their CIO counterpart?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about, I don't want to sound cliche, but it really is about partnership, and it is a joint decision, and you can try to build around, and eventually, when you need the enterprise data and you need it needs to be a partnership, and for
Did I hear shadow IT?
And the reality is, the evolution of the CIO and the office of the CIO and IT is dramatically evolving, even with it evolved dramatically with the cloud and now with AI, in that we don't want to be the office of no, right? We want to say yes. We want to, serve the business. We want to deliver business outcomes. We want to partner with the business and prioritize those things that will truly move the needle. And so having clarity around the business case and the reason to invest and why this is, a priority, and jointly coming together to be able to ultimately implement, on behalf of our customers. I mean, that is what is needed to be able to drive the evolution or any transformation that you're looking to drive within the company.
Well said. All right, we're winding down. I'm getting the warning. We have closing thoughts. We'll start with Vimal. What advice would you leave for other CX leaders about how to be better at driving this build versus buy process?
See, for me, build versus buy process is so personal because across the companies, Siemens and Koerber have built several products and made it commercially successful. So I would say two things. It was just a movie from Netflix. One is AK-47, and then the second one is The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind Power. Those two movies say some fundamental truth about build versus buy. AK-47, the government had all the machineries and all the partners to make a perfect weapon, but then this one end user, there was a big disconnect between the buyer versus user, and he felt he compelled to build a perfect machine gun which will work properly. So that's one example. And the second one is The Boy Who Harnessed the Power of Wind. The windmill was so much advanced, and everybody already built it and perfected, but that particular customer, their economy and the use case, the product outside does not fit their economy at scale for their economy. So he was forced to build it. So when you make the decision, so I would say the need and the economy of your business unit or your company should be also an important factor to make the decision.
Thank you, Vimal. Ashok?
Yeah, my perspective is always customer experience driven from my career, because always it's about customers, right? So what does it mean to your customer and your customer experience, and then kind of wind down to what business process that you're trying to automate here, and go from the business process to the tooling, right? So it's always about, in the past we have always bought tools and then tried to put it in front of the business and trying to make it work. We are in a very different situation right now where we have plenty of tools available. So you need to just grasp and say like what business process you are trying to automate. And the second part of it is AI is, as Alvina said, AI is just an evolution. It's a tool. Being a little pessimistic on that, it's just a tool. You have to use it in the right place, not that you have a hammer and everything looks like a nail to you. So it's right now we are at a place where everything looks like to be solved by AI. So I would say like put your business hat, put your business process, which one you need to automate. Some may not require an AI, some may require a low code, no code, some may require just a CRM upgrade or whatever, right? So look at it purely from what lens would make the most sense for your business and take the right decision.
Thanks, Ashok. Do you want to wrap us up, Alvina?
Yeah, I mean, actually, just to feed off of you is I think that if you think about the priorities of the business, it's always centered around your customer and your employees, right? And the opportunities that I've seen from the get-go on AI are related to support experience, specifically tied to customer support and employee support experience. And so there's an opportunity to really, if you look at these AI councils that we've talked about, they're looking for use cases that are going to drive real differentiation with the power of AI. And the two biggest opportunity areas are customer support and employee support, right? And so just being able to, again, focus on measurable business outcomes, focus on your customer and really identifying what is the experience that you're looking to serve, and how is your current experience, the issues of your current experience, and what is needed to be able to drive an evolution of your experience, and then identifying a real partner to invest in that you can actually ultimately achieve your outcomes. I mean, that's what I would say is your biggest priority and your biggest goal in achieving success.
Thank you. Good point to end on. Thank you, Alvina, Ashok, Vimal.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Good discussion.